Alright, hey everybody. I just wanted to show you something quick on the Oldsmobile. I finally figured out my high idle problem. And basically, for those of you who don't know, the problem I've been having is that when you start the car and run it for a few minutes, the high idle stays on because the choke's on. But when you kick the throttle, it's supposed to drop the high idle down to curb idle, which is around 800 RPM, and just stay there. This car wouldn't do that. This car you'd kick it lightly and it would just raise the high idle even higher. And I think it advanced the timing a little bit too because my TPS unit is messed up. But you'd really have to stomp on it to get the high idle to kick down. And it would, but then the car would stall. And when you started it back up again, the high idle would be back on, and no matter how many times you kicked it, the high idle would not come off. So I spent the last probably 3 weeks trying to track down a problem here. I replaced my heat riser assembly on here. As you can see, it's got brand new lines and hoses on the heat riser assembly. The stove pipe is brand new. Everything is new on there, and I even tried adjusting the choke a little bit, and then that didn't do anything. So I was ready to give up. But what it actually turned out being, and this is the key for all you people out there who might be having this problem, if you bought a new Reman quadrajet and your high idle is stuck on no matter what you do, and it will not kick down unless you physically manually push down on the high idle cam. This is what you need to do. You see this back here, I'll get my light on it. This back here is a secondary vacuum brake. And what this does is when there's engine vacuum supplied to this lever here pulls this back and drops that cam phaser down like that, or that cam step down like that. So what that does is that when the choke is on, so let me turn it on here. There's the choke. When I pull on this lever, it drops that out of the way, so the choke can actually go down when you close it. So let me see if I can actually do this with 2 hands here. Alright, so pull this lever back and hit the throttle, and the high idle cam goes back down to normal. So I looked at that and I was thinking, when I bought this carburetor, it had a vacuum line going from here to the back of it, back here. But my old carburetor didn't have that. My old carburetor had a separate vacuum hose connected to this that went up to the air cleaner, and this one back here went down to this source right here for the HVAC, which I've got plugged off now. So the old one, my issue was that the choke would never come on, and I replaced the whole carburetor, so it's no big deal. But the new choke wouldn't come off, so I figured, what the hell? I'll just put this vacuum hose back on that I came with and see what happens. And as it turns out, that fixed the problem. This little vacuum hose over here fixed the whole high idle sticking thing, because what was happening is when my car was running and the engine was running, this here this vacuum lever was supposed to pull back and pull this linkage down so it would drop that high idle cam stopper on there. So it wasn't doing that, and the reason for that is because this was hooked up to a vacuum line going to the air cleaner, and I'm not sure what the point of it even is, because if you look at the air cleaner over here, which I've got plugged off now with another vacuum cap on it, but this is just going to be blowing cold air into it. It's not going to be sucking vacuum like it needs. It's not even pushing vacuum. It's just sort of blowing cold air into it. I am completely unsure what the point of this port was even supposed to be, because this is the one that controls the Thermac, Thermac unit on here. This has little to no point from what I can see on here. So basically, obviously, what I just did is I ran that vacuum line back here's my old carburetor. I ran it back from this vacuum brake to here and into this constant vacuum source, and that fixed the problem, because if you look at the way the front one's set up, it's the same deal. You got constant vacuum source hooked up through a vacuum hose to the front of your primary vacuum brake. That's all it is. The back one needs to be set up the same way, evidently. So there you go. For anybody who's having the same problem I was, your high idle's not kicking off no matter what you do. You adjusted the cam, replaced the heat riser, ruled everything else out. That's your problem, is your secondary vacuum brake isn't hooked up to a primary vacuum source, or it has a vacuum leak. On a different note, my Thermac vacuum brake, which is normally going to be right here, I found out it had a big old vacuum leak in it. So since I deleted the second vacuum hose that comes off a Thermac and went to this originally, I figured, why do I need the vacuum brake sort of switch valve, I guess, still sitting on this? There's, no point to it. So since mine had a vacuum leak in it and I wasn't about to try and find that part number, I just cut a little segment of line and put it on there. So I've just completely eliminated that little Thermac vacuum brake assembly, this deal right here. See, this one went into that secondary choke pull-off vacuum brake, and this one went into wherever the hell that other line is going right now. But there's a large vacuum leak. Not sure how well the camera's going to pick it up, but right there, it's torn, and all the vacuum was sucking out of there, so that's why my Thermac wasn't working either. So I'm going to keep this just because, but I'm not going to be putting it back on the car unless some other issue happens, because there's no real reason for this to be on there, really. I can't find a good reason for it. So anyway, that's all there is to it. If you got a high idle that's not kicking down no matter what you do, make sure that your primary and secondary vacuum brake assemblies are hooked up to a constant engine vacuum via the carburetor. That's all you need to do. If you got that hooked up right, your choke adjusted right, and you got your heat riser assembly isn't leaking any hot air, that's all there is to it. Your choke should work like a brand new car, and now mine does, so I'm very grateful for that. Thanks for watching. Hope I helped somebody out there.